Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to Daytona International Speedway as we get ready to cap off what's been already a very exciting Daytona week here during Speed Weeks of Season 3 of the NNSCRA Hersheys Cup Series, and we're getting ready to cap it all off, if you will, with the grand finale, the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. It'll be 50 laps of racing. We've got 42 drivers who have already been called to their cars. They are sitting and waiting for the command to fire them up and getting ready to go racing here in probably one of the biggest races of the season. NASCAR is very unusual in the fact that their big main event is usually at the beginning of the season rather at the end of the season, but certainly makes for a very exciting start to the season, and a lot of storylines play off of that as the season progresses. Cole Baker will line up on the pole here for the third annual Great American Race. He was the Rookie of the Year last year and finds himself on the inside of the front row here for the Daytona 500 alongside of a chaser last season in James Richardson, back for a second season with Joe Gibbs Racing. Dallas McIntosh, he won Can-Am Duel number 1, so he as a result lines up on the inside of row 2, and alongside of him, winner of Can-Am Duel number 2, Joseph Strigley in the number 24. We are moments away from getting the command to fire the engines, so let's go down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
And there is the command to fire him up, and we will have the Hersheys Cup Series pace car leading this 42 car field off of pit road. You can take a look on the left side of your screen, and that is the starting grid for today's Great American Race. As I said, 50 laps of racing around this 2.5 mile super speedway. It'll be interesting to see what takes place in this race because, we always try and use Speed Weeks, the Sprint Unlimited, and we were even able to maybe use a little case in point of yesterday's debut race of the Almond Joy Series to try and figure out what kind of racing we can expect. And to be honest, up to this point, the racing's been pretty aggressive, but almost to the point of a very clean aggressive. And so we'll have to see if that'll be the case here today. Will these drivers settle into a long green flag run? Will they be having more of a pit strategy type Daytona 500? Or will we see a lot of wrecks take place? We had one caution flag take place in the Almond Joy Series yesterday. And even that wreck only took out, I think it was a total of 4 drivers. So we'll see what happens in this one. We've had 2 previous Daytona 500 winners, obviously, in the Hersheys Cup Series. Only one of them is in the field here today, and that is the defending winner of this race, Kyle Matthews. The very first Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500 winner was Ryan Acosta when he drove the number 78 Chevrolet. So the odds right now, highly in favor of a different winner in the Great American Race here in the Hersheys Cup Series. The pace car will make the left-hand turn to pit road. Cole Baker, James Richardson, they were the top 2 in pole day qualifying. Dallas McIntosh, Joseph Strigley, the Can-Am Duel winners. We're ready to go. The third annual Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500 is green. Three wide already as they headed into one, and now Joshua Michaels steps out in front with the lead. O'Neal Baldwin will move into second. The Honda of Joshua Michaels leading this race and trying to make history as the first Honda to lead a lap in a Hersheys Cup Series points paying race. They are 3 wide, about 5-6 rows deep behind them, and the first lap of the day will be led by Rage Motorsports' Joshua Michaels. Cole Baker very quickly starting to fade towards the back after starting this race from the pole. Got a battle between a couple of Mountain Dew cars. A couple of Mountain Dew Chevrolets. O'Neal Baldwin on the high side. Dylan Poteet down low. Sean Galligan offering the drafting help down there as they'll move by for second and third place. Manuel Hartnett now peeks out of line. He'll go 3 wide for the second position there. The Strigley Motorsports number 97 Chevrolet. And here comes our Sprint Unlimited winner, Anthony McCrory, being followed by Michael Norman Motorsports' Tim Walsh. And oh, we got trouble in the back. Joseph Srigley around off the nose of Kyle Matthews. But I don't think that brought out a yellow flag. It indeed did not. But Joseph Srigley, who started this race from the 4th position, just got spun out of turn 4. He's gotten the car refired. He continues on, but that's a tough break there. An early tough break for the driver of the 24, our Can-Am number 2 dual winner yesterday. Or not yesterday, but 2 days ago. No caution flag coming out for the single car incident. The car spun down to the apron out of turn 4. And NNSCRA not feeling that warranted a caution. You can see the lingering smoke there. I couldn't tell exactly who he went off the nose of, but he then went across the nose of Kyle Matthews. But he had already been spun at that point. At some point, maybe we'll be able to go back and look at a replay of it. The top 5 are all single file. You've got Joshua Michaels, Tim Walsh, Zachary Fitzwater, then John Andrews and Levi McIntyre, as now Chelsea Bowles moves into the 6th position. Brandon Gonzalez now into 7th. Top 5, as mentioned, no single file, and now Tim Walsh will step out of line on Joshua Michaels. Will anybody go with him? Not this time, and Michaels will hang on to the lead at least for now. So the good news for Srigley, I don't think he hit anything. I didn't see any visible damage when we looked at his Chevrolet. However, he needs a caution now to be able to bunch back up with these drivers and get back in the hunt for this win. And I just heard an idle engine just ahead of these cars, and I don't know if that was Srigley or not. No, it was Lyndon Wright. So I'm wondering if maybe Lyndon was the one that turned the 24. Rookie Lyndon Wright in the Ford Taurus has apparently come to pit road. And I can only assume it was maybe to repair damage after potential contact with the 24 car. And boy, they all encountered him in a really bad section of the racetrack, entering into 3. But it looks like we may get through it without a wreck happening. But he just held up Chelsea Bowles on back, from 6th on back. Trent Dunham has now cracked the top 5, running there in the 5th position behind Brandon Gonzalez. We know that Trent Dunham, no matter what series it is, his love for Daytona, it's not exactly up there top of his list, especially when it's the Daytona 500. But Trent Dunham does have a Daytona 500 victory in NNSCRA competition, the retired Snickers Cup Series. He won the Season 10 Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500. So, looking good right now, and maybe he'll be in the hunt for the win here when this race comes to a close. But we have only completed 6 laps. We're about to complete that 6th lap and go on to lap 7. There's still a long ways to go in this one. One driver last year that made history in the Hersheys Cup Series, became a 4-time winner in a single season last year, was Charles Sanford. You see him right there behind Chelsea Bowles. 2 of his victories came at Talladega Superspeedway. So Charles Sanford knows how to get around restrictor plate tracks. However, if memory serves me correctly, his numbers at Daytona aren't nearly as good as they were at Dega last year. So we'll have to see how he does here. Right now, running solidly in that 6th position. Michael Norman running in his last ever Daytona 500. Right now, he is scored, I believe, in the 12th position. Make that 11th. Obviously, he would love in his final start in the Daytona 500 to be able to go to victory lane. Right now, his teammate Tim Walsh up there running solidly in 2nd. So M&M has definitely brought some pretty good cars here today. He and Walsh, the only 2 of the team that made the race. His other teammates, Daniel Gilbert, Dougie Shears, they failed to make the race in the non-charter knockout qualifying. The field's gotten rather spread out here. You got the top 3 separated by about a car length back to 4th place Trent Dunham. Then you jump back here past this lead group. There's a second group being led by O'Neal Baldwin and Chris Dollerton. Then you jump back behind this. There's about 8 cars in this pack. There's another third group being led by Zachary Fitzwater. You got Anthony McCrory, Kyle Matthews, Cody Lum, Dylan Young all back in this one. Then you got a couple of stragglers back here, including Cat Tellier, rookie Matt Haas, as well as JT Bryant. And then look back here, this is very interesting. Fire Ice Racing teammates, Pichu London and Zach Flickinger back here, along with Jake Baskinger, all running towards the tail end of the field. There's Joseph Srigley, the 24, who had spun out, and it looks like there was some rear end damage on the back end of the defending champion Chris Dodd's Chevrolet. That might just be a visual error on my part, but it looks like he's got some rear end damage. We'll look again as he goes here into 3, and yeah, that looks like he sustained some damage at some point. I don't know when, but now he's running way back here too. He's actually the last car right now on the lead lap, I believe. No, he's not. He is a lap down. He's a lap down in the 42nd position. Lyndon Wright is also a lap down, as we saw, making an unscheduled pit stop for what I assumed was damage sustained when Srigley spun. But Lyndon Wright and the defending champion Chris Dodd are both a lap down here early on in the 500. And the battle is on for the lead. First challenge that Joshua Michaels has had in quite a number of laps, and it is Keith Batson going to the front. Jessica Shelton fought her way up through the field awfully quickly. When we were looking back through the packs of race cars, she was back somewhere around the 14th position. She's already up to 2nd place, and here comes Sean Galligan to the inside. Seth Cole-Baker Motorsports has had a good start to the season already. Of course, Cole-Baker starting on the pole position for the 500. Anthony McCrory winning the first, it was non-point, but technically first race of the season in the Sprint Unlimited. And so Sean Galligan may be trying to make it the SCBM trifecta with a Daytona 500 victory. And just look at how quickly the race changes when people start racing for the lead. Joshua Michaels was dominating out in front. He's now caught up on the high side, free falling. He's now outside the top 10 according to our live standings. Keith Batson, who was battling him for the lead, has now also dropped outside of the top 10. As you got Charles Sanford now to the inside of Leon Alvarez. Alvarez started season 1 in a Chevy for CJ Racing. He's back in a Chevy for CJ Racing again in the 33, but he's getting freight trained now. Charles Sanford moves to 2nd, Tim Walsh to 3rd, and he's getting pushed there by now the 4th place car, his teammate, Michael Norman in the 3. And I keep hearing a distant sound of engines, and that is indeed the case. That is Chris Dodd and Joseph Srigley, who, if this thing continues to run green, they're going to get reeled in awfully quickly by this big parking car trouble! Joshua Michaels around! Jessica Shelton collected right in the middle of the field! Brandon Gonzalez is collected. Carson Scott, Cole Baker, one car upside down. That is Lyndon Wright. Kyle Matthews is involved. Oh man, Joshua Srigley, Lyndon Wright flipping, barrel rolling. Someone must have just clobbered him. Smoke trying to see through the smoke here. Daniel Voiles involved. Anthony McCrory, Dylan Young. There is Cody Lamas. Joshua Michaels, we already mentioned. He was involved. He was one of the first that actually got out of shape. Matt Haas is in it, JT Bryant, Jessica Shelton, Kat Tellier's on pit road, Levi McIntyre, James Richardson, the outside pole sitter, Dylan Poteet, O'Neal Baldwin, all collected in this one. The big one has struck at Daytona. Cole Baker, the pole sitter, was involved. The entire front row was involved in this one. We just saw Sekuli. There is Carson Scott. And this happened just moments before Joseph Srigley and Chris Dodd were about to be caught by the leaders. They are still, well, Srigley is still on the lead lap, and Chris Dodd will be, at this point, only 1 lap down. There's Cody Lamas on pit road. Lyndon Wright. Bad day goes worse for him. Levi McIntyre. Kat Tellier. And Tim Walsh was the leader coming back to the stripe under that caution. Well, we're not even halfway through this race, and we've already seen quite a bit of action here in the Daytona 500. The big one has struck on lap 13. Leaders are coming to pit road. I don't know exactly what the fuel window is, whether they'd have to pit again after this pit stop or not. But let's see what they go at least with this time on our first round of pit stops here on lap 14. Tim Walsh pulling into the attention of his crew. Sean Galligan just behind. They're going to go at least with right side tires, so that would say to me a 4-tire pit stop and pack it full of fuel. And indeed, they will go around to the left side. So 4-tire stop for the leader, Tim Walsh. Sean Galligan, his team going to get him out ahead of Tim Walsh. And it looks like he may come off pit road as the race leader. And indeed he will. Zachary Fitzwater comes out second. Then it's Sanford, Batson, and Tim Walsh will drop from first back to fifth for the restart. We're under caution for the first time here today in the Daytona 500. Sean Galligan, the race leader, after winning the battle off pit road. Let's take a look at a replay. The big one has struck in the Daytona 500. Well, let's see if we can figure out how this one started. We're focusing here on the number 10 Honda of Joshua Michaels. Now, he is perilously close to the left rear quarter panel of Leon Alvarez. He gets shot up into the wall courtesy of John Andrews in the 17. Now, I don't exactly know what got John Andrews out of shape, but it looked like he kind of almost spun and then he got into Michaels. There's Dylan Poteet involved. Shelton has absolutely nowhere to go, and just watch how it just clogs up the racetrack here. So many cars stuck up there on the high line, and there's just there's very little reaction time. Look at Dallas McIntosh. Nice move there to the inside line to be able to get by the wreck. And then everybody else, they can't see where they're going. Lyndon Wright gets flipped upside down. There's Balvin peeking out there. Kyle Matthews, Sekuli, Voiles, Dylan Young. There's Carson Scott. I mean, where do you go? There's nothing but smoke to drive through. There's Cody Lamas there on the left side of your screen. He gets nailed by, I think that was Levi McIntyre. Anthony McCurry back there. Look at James Richardson. Comes in full speed, and he gets into Levi McIntyre. Goes sliding through the wreck. Cole Baker there in the 18. Left side of your screen, lower left. There's the winner of this race, Kyle Matthews. And here comes Kat Tellier into the picture full speed, and I think maybe she's going to be the reason Lyndon Wright goes airborne. Yep, right there. Drove through it. Lyndon Wright was there. You couldn't really see her hit him with the dust that was kicked up, but Lyndon gets clobbered by the 35 of Kat Tellier. And the car just flipping and barrel rolling towards the inside wall here on the back straightaway. As if a bad day couldn't go worse for Lyndon Wright. He goes a lap down after contact, and then he gets flipped upside down in the big one, then gets nailed afterwards. And I believe JT Bryant, I don't know if he got involved or not. So I'm going to jump back to him. There he is. It's hard to really tell with the dirt that was kicked up there. I mean, talk about the smoke visibility problem. Then you got cars spinning down and kicking up dirt. And JT does get through it, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like he got through it for the most part. Matt Haas also able to maneuver his way through. We're going to go back to live action, but we're first now going to look back to an incident that took place and did not bring out a caution flag. It happened very early in this race. We're going to take a look at what caused the spin for Joseph Srigley. So here's what happened. Srigley's going to move down low to try and go to the middle groove, and I think he tried to fit into a space where he couldn't. I think he tried to get in front of Blaine Keys. Keys is moving down to try and give him room, and he just bounces off Kyle Matthews and then back up into Srigley. Yeah, so Blaine Keys was put in a very difficult position right there. And around goes the 24 off the nose of the 8, and then a little bit of help there from Kyle Matthews as well. Oh, nearly took out the commitment cone. Man, close call there, and then punches the throttle and continues on. But that doesn't give us the idea of why Lyndon Wright or Chris Dodd fell a lap down. So why don't we try and find out why those two ended up coming to pit road unscheduled. This was back on lap 1, and I didn't see it happen. This was close to the rear of the field as well. Watch the yellow roof. That is Lyndon Wright. He's going to try and tuck up in front of Chris Dodd right here, and he's not going to be clear. And right there, maybe a little help from Dylan Young, I don't know, but right there you see it. Linden gets hooked up into the outside retaining wall, got himself some right side damage after scraping the outside wall, and that's what ended up causing the problems for Chris Dodd. Chris Dodd also sustaining right side damage as both the cars went up and got the wall heading into 3. Now, Lyndon Wright sustained the most damage. He had to come to pit road for his damage. Chris Dodd did not come to pit road as far as I am aware. However, it really slowed his race car down, and as a result, he ended up falling off the lead lap. So that is what happened to the 81 of Lyndon Wright and the 88 of Chris Dodd, and had them both fall off the lead lap very early here in the 500. Well, the lights are now off atop the pace car. That's the indication we will go green next time by. Chris Dodd lines up on the inside line a lap down. You can see that the dust that was kicked up from the big one is still lingering here on the back straightaway, just the least little bit. And we've got a lot of race cars, a lot of torn up race cars back behind the wall, and they include the following: Daniel Voiles, Dylan Poteet, Brandon Gonzalez, Kyle Matthews, Joshua Sekuli, Carson Scott, Cody Lamas, James Richardson, Cole Baker, Anthony McCrory, Dylan Young, Levi McIntyre, Kat Tellier, and Lyndon Wright all out of the race up to this point. We have a total of 28 cars still running, 26 on the lead lap. Emmanuel Hartnett is also a lap down according to our scoring monitor, along with Chris Dodd. Race leader after the pit stop, Sean Galligan, Zachary Fitzwater second, Sanford in third, fourth place Keith Batson, fifth is Tim Walsh. Then it's Miles, Arndt, Dollarton, Bowles, and Norman will be your top 10. We'll have to try and get an update on what's going on with Emmanuel Hartnett, what's caused him to be a lap down. To my knowledge, I don't remember seeing him involved in the big one that took place just moments ago. But the green flag's back out. We're back underway here in the Great American Race. Sean Galligan making quick work there of Chris Dodd. And now Charles Sanford will use Chris Dodd as a pick to take the second position away from Zachary Fitzwater. Keith Batson will follow him through. We were talking about Seth Cole Baker Motorsports earlier, how it's been a pretty good weekend for them. Well, 2 of their cars are out of the race now after the big one. Same for Retro Racing Enterprises. Jessica Shelton and... oh wait, is Shelton out of the race? I forgot if I mentioned Shelton out of the race or not. No, Shelton is not out of the race. Shelton's still running at 25th, so never mind. My information is incorrect. And I'll tell you one guy who was really happy to see that caution flag come out, and he's actually starting to fight his way back up through the field again, is that 24 car of Joseph Srigley, who ended up having that early spin. He was able to stay on the lead lap. He was ahead of the leaders when the caution came out, so he's still in the lead lap, and he's fighting back up there towards the front. Last time by, he was scored in the 20th position, so Joseph Srigley, a very timely caution for him, and he's now starting to work his way back up through the field. Keith Batson out in front in the number 39. A year ago in the Daytona 500, Keith Batson had to try and qualify his way into the Daytona 500, and he was unsuccessful. Batson this year is a chartered ride, and right now enjoying the view out in front here in the Great American Race. See another driver back there we haven't really mentioned. That is Benjamin Miles. You can see the big, bold New York Yankees logo on his hood. Benjamin Miles, a 3-time winner last season. I believe it was 3 times. If no, he was twice. And was a chaser last year. Was actually in the Final Four for the championship, along with Charles Sanford and Anthony McCurry and the eventual champion, Chris Dodd. Batson continues to show the way. Ford's 1-2. And then there's another Ford that's peeking out of the line back there in the 5th position. Dallas McIntosh, our winner of Can-Am Duel number 2, is now up here into the top 5. So now, remember I said back at the beginning of the race that we had basically a 41-1 odds that there was going to be a new Daytona 500 winner. Well, the odds just definitely increased as the defending winner of this race, Kyle Matthews, is back behind the wall. So we are guaranteed a brand new Daytona 500 champion here in the Hersheys Cup Series. And I'm trying to get information down on pit road. I've been unsuccessful up to this point, but trying to find out what the fuel window is for these drivers. Can they make it the rest of the way on fuel? They came down pit road on lap 18. That would mean they would have to make roughly 33 laps on one tank of fuel. And from what I've calculated in previous events up this weekend, the fuel window is somewhere between 25 to 28 laps. So if my calculations are correct, they are going to be short regardless of whether they got their cars completely packed full of fuel or not. So they are, I think, going to have to pit at least one more time if we do not have another caution flag. Let's give a shout out to a couple other drivers back there that are running really well here in this Daytona 500. How about Blaine Keys? Former winner in the Hersheys Cup Series back in Season 1 when he drove the number 48 to victory lane at Yas Marina Circuit. He's come back here as a chartered ride for Sega Motorsports and right now having a solid outing in the U.S. Army Chevrolet. Right behind him, third season for Pichu London. Non-chartered ride this season again for Fire Ice Racing, but raced his way into the Daytona 500 and having a very good run, currently in the 9th position. And right behind him, Chelsea Bowles. I believe she at this point is the highest running rookie on the racetrack. And indeed that is the case. Right now in the 10th position, having a very solid outing there in that 097 machine, car out of AS Racing, gets technical support from CJ Racing as well. Trent Dunham right there running in the 11th position. And then there's the second highest running rookie, Matt Haas, number 78 out of Joe Gibbs Racing, having a very strong run there in the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet. And so one place that I think a lot of rookies like to make their debut at is a super speedway. And because everybody's on an even playing field, it's not nearly as much pressure. Especially with the way things are spread out right now, there's not a whole lot of pressure. Third highest running rookie is right there. Chris Dollerton having a good run in that Honda. Last time by, he was scored in the 16th position. Of course, his teammate out of the race now, Joshua Michaels, involved in the big one that took place back on lap 17. There's Joseph Srigley. He's worked his way now up to the 17th position after finding himself back in the 40th spot on the tail end of the lead lap after spinning out early in this race. And he's definitely doing a good job coming back from what could have been a very dismal day at Daytona. The battle for the lead is going on up here, so we probably should head back to the front of the field. Keith Batson, Sean Galligan, Dallas McIntosh, and Charles Sanford, they've been mixing it up for the last couple of laps, as now the field's starting to bunch back up here. At least back through about the 13th, 14th position, now getting back up into one big pack, and we have passed the halfway point in this race. So now, if these drivers weren't going before, they are going now. Also keep in mind that last year, Kyle Matthews won the Daytona 500. It was the only race that Kyle Matthews won. However, after winning that Great American Race, he was pretty much the most consistent driver for the entire regular season, and that win at Daytona locked him up a spot in the Hersheys Cup Series chase for the championship. So these drivers are not only thinking, I'm sure, about the fact that they would love to be able to win the Daytona 500, but it could potentially down the road lock themselves up a spot to battle for the Hersheys Cup Series championship. A potential chase spot could be on the line. Fords run 1, 2, 3. Batson, Galligan, then McIntosh. Then you got Charles Sanford, the lone Chevy, trying to fight with these Fords up front. And again, if this thing goes into a long green flag run, they more than likely will not be able to make it the entire rest of the way on the fuel they currently have in the tank. So green flag pit stops could come into play. Right now, the highest running rookie of the race is Matt Haas. He's all of a sudden fought his way up by Chelsea Bowles and Chris Dollerton. And now he gets stuck in the middle, 3 wide. That's what happens when you're a rookie. A lot of times people don't want to go with you. How about Zachary Fitzwater? Nice run for him. That team had to downsize a little bit after Season 2. Now running with just himself and Jake Baskinger. But Fitzwater was a 2-time winner last season and was in the chase for the championship and having a very strong ride right now here in the Dodge Dart. He's actually, I believe, the only team that still runs Dodge Darts in the series. So having a very solid outing right now is Zachary Fitzwater, looking good, and who knows, he may be able to get himself up here into the picture for the win in the closing stages as Trent Dunham works on by him and now moves himself into 4th place. Keith Batson still out in front, and I believe these drivers may now start catching some of the drivers that were involved in the big one but continued on. Some slower damaged traffic. Thought I heard a couple of cars just ahead. And with the field spread out as it is, they could bunch the field right back up again. Look down the back straightaway, and yes, you can see there is at least one car that's there. Wait, is the caution flag out? I thought I might have just seen yellow lights on. I think we are under caution. No, we are not. Nope. No, we are not under caution. Lights are still green. There's like a little yellow light up above the green light, and I thought it was flashing, but apparently not. I was mistaken. We are still under green flag conditions here. And believe it or not, folks, we are at 20 laps to go now as Batson crosses the line. Car they're going to encounter first is the damaged machine of O'Neal Balvin. Balvin goes low. Leaders will go to the high side. Sanford does not go high, and he's going to get held up as a result behind O'Neal Balvin. And now it backs up, 3rd place on back. The top 2 are going to kind of scamper away for the moment. A couple of Fords working together there in a 2-car tandem, Batson and Galligan. And if they can work together like that, maybe they can keep the distance between themselves and 3rd place on back, who now are starting to make work of O'Neal Balvin. They've kicked him up to the extreme high side, and now they'll go back to work on trying to reel in the top 2. Sanford leading that charge. Oh man, they were almost 4 wide behind him there with Miles, Keys, Bowles, and Haas, but they settle it back out to 3 wide. And now Galligan's lost the back bumper of Keith Batson, maybe having to cool his engine down a little to avoid overheating. And that's going to maybe allow that 3rd place contingency on back to reel these 2 back in. Galligan now trying to tuck back up again to the bumper of Keith Batson, but there you see there's a 3-car pack behind them. Sanford, Fitzwater, and Haas. And then there's another big pack behind them from 6th position on back. Miles, McIntosh, Keys, John Andrews in that mix as well. Trent Dunham, Walsh, London, Norman, and Bowles. So it's right now 2 on 3. Well, Matt Haas might actually lose that group of Sanford and Fitzwater, but it looks like visibly the gap is closing between 2nd place Galligan and 3rd place Sanford, so we could have ourselves another big lead pack in just a few moments. See if there's any other cars these drivers might encounter. Oh, Ryan George is on pit road. So is John Arndt. We could be having a round of green flag pit stops take place, and as soon as I say that, Keith Batson is hitting the pit lane along with Sean Galligan. Number of others on pit road, including Charles Sanford, Matt Haas, Miles, McIntosh, Walsh, Dunham, Andrews, Pichu, London, Norman, and Bowles. Balvin is in. Here comes Strigley, Alvarez. Alvarez has got some right side damage. I wonder where that came from. Chris Dollerton in, Nathan Hudson. Here comes JT Bryant, Flickinger, Shelton, Joshua Michaels, Jake Baskinger, all coming in. Drivers that got some pieces of the only caution we've had today, and Zachary Fitzwater was one of a couple drivers who stayed out, along with Blaine Keys, and he will not come to pit road this time. Fitzwater and Blaine Keys both going to stay out yet another extra lap. Very interesting there that they're able to make it just a little bit longer than these other drivers. And when you think about it, Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're under caution. The yellow flag has come out on lap 35, just during the cycle of green flag pit stops. I don't know what the yellow flag has come out for. I don't see any smoke or skid marks up to this point. Oh, there's some damage on the 16 of Dallas McIntosh, though. I don't know where that came from. It looks like also maybe some damage on the 42 of Benjamin Miles. O'Neal Baldwin's got some rear end damage. So was that where the incident took place? Whatever the case, Fitzwater and Blaine Keys have still yet to come to pit road. They'll be able to make their pit stops here under the caution flag. But this is definitely going to jumble the field up. So Fitzwater, he's coming in, so is Blaine Keys. They'll get the luxury of pitting under the yellow flag, but we are under caution for some reason right in the middle of the cycle of green flag pit stops. Let's find out what exactly happened. So the caution comes out for an incident that actually took place on pit road during these green flag pit stops. We're looking here at Pichu London, who was actually running up inside the top 15 for a majority of this race up to this point. Now he's coming down pit road here. One lap before, the 91 of Ryan George had been coming to pit road. Here you see the 91 coming off of pit lane. Now he's coming out of his pit stall, and Pichu London is not in the transfer lane right now. He's still on the outside lane. And instead of slowing up and waiting for the 91 to clear, well, actually, no, the 17 of John Andrews up ahead is slow as well, getting into his pit stall. So, yeah, that was just a hard place for Ryan George to be. He was kind of boxed in. He had to slow up to avoid running to the back of the 17 of Andrews. And London, in the meantime, wants to get to his pit stall, and he just turns into the 91 of Ryan George. And so with the fact that pit road for a moment was blocked up, the caution flag was thrown, but that's definitely going to kind of mess up the running order here for the 500, because a lot of times you end up having drivers that'll be restarting on the tail end of the lead lap ahead of the leaders, and this might be one of those times, but don't know how much damage was sustained to the right rear of Ryan George or to the left front of Pichu London, but obviously a tough break there. A little bit of a pit road incident taking place here right in the middle of the 500, and oh, there's Pichu London right there actually having to teleport back into his pit stall, so that's going to probably lose him a couple of laps here. So tough break, a good day goes bad for Pichu London after an incident on pit road. Also want to document how a couple of drivers such as Benjamin Miles and Dallas McIntosh ended up getting some damage here after the caution had come out. They're all coming here off of pit road. The pace car, I don't think these guys realized the pace car was still in turn 2. And you're going to see right here, McIntosh is going to run into the back of Charles Sanford. Sanford gets into the back of Tim Walsh. And I believe Benjamin Miles got into the back of the 78 of Matt Haas. I'm not exactly certain, but it just all kind of stacked up there. Nobody realizing the pace car actually wasn't down further on the back straightaway. It was out of turn 2. And they were trying to get up to speed to catch up to the pace car, and I guess, fault of the spotters, not letting them know where the pace car is. And you can see Dallas McIntosh has a buckle on his hood now, as does Benjamin Miles. You got to wonder if that's going to affect them in the outcome of this race. And as I was afraid of, the pit stops, having the caution flag come out right in the middle of them, it has definitely done what I expected, and it's kind of jumbled the field up. You got a number of drivers that are starting on the tail end of the lead lap, including Trent Dunham, Joseph Srigley, Chris Dollarton, Nathan Hudson, JT Bryant, Jessica Shelton, Joshua Michaels, Jake Baskinger, Leon Alvarez, John Arndt, Zach Flickinger, and Ryan George. He's the last car on the lead lap. That is the race leader right there, Sean Galligan in the 44. Keith Batson is going to be second, Tim Walsh third, McIntosh is fourth. They actually did not come to pit road to repair the damage on the 16, so we'll have to see what happens there as far as his aerodynamics with the buckle on his hood. Rolling off fifth on the restart will be Matt Haas. Then it's Benjamin Miles, Charles Sanford, John Andrews, Michael Norman, and Chelsea Bowles. And I believe the rest of the cars that are on the lead lap that are here in this line are Zachary Fitzwater in 11th and Blaine Keys in 12th. So Trent Dunham right now is behind the pace car in 13th place. He's on the tail end of the lead lap, but he's a little more than just about I don't know, a couple hundred feet ahead of the race leader Sean Galligan. So we're actually going to have some drivers that were on the tail end of the lead lap probably fall a lap down in this final thing. You're going to have drivers battling for position ahead of the leaders, as well as the leaders battling for this win, and all happening with 12 laps to go. Also count in the lap cars on the inside line there: O'Neal Baldwin, Chris Dodd, Emmanuel Hartnett, and Pichu London. Nobody out of the race after the pit road incident. London is now 2 laps down, though, as a result of the pit road incident we saw that brought out the caution. The green flag is back out. We're back underway, and we'll try and keep you up to date on who is on the lead lap and who isn't as we watch this potential battle for the Daytona 500 win. Here comes Batson to the inside line. Now these leaders are going to be trying to cut their way through traffic here, as Batson will go to the point. Tim Walsh follows him in line. Theoretically, right now, the race for the win is between 12 drivers because they're all here on the lead lap. Everybody else is either a lap down or just barely on the tail end of the lead lap, right ahead of the leaders. Galligan holding his own there on the outside line. It's still side by side, and as soon as I say that now, inside line kicks in as the middle line gets held up by the slower, damaged machine of O'Neal Baldwin. Look at him up ahead there. Chris Dollerton, JT Bryant, and Pichu London fanning out. One of those cars is a lap down. It's Bryant and Dollerton that are actually battling for position. I believe that would be for the 13th spot, as now Keith Batson, still holding the inside line, is currently the race leader. Tim Walsh now moves into second. Matt Haas, I believe, now has moved to third, with Charles Sanford in the 4th position. Keith Batson watching what's happening ahead of him. Now they're 3 wide between Flickinger, Alvarez, and Bryant. That's for 13th place. Here comes Tim Walsh to the bottom. This is the battle for the lead between the 15 and the 39. And Tim Walsh using the inside line. He will go to the point. So Tim Walsh leading the race now with 10 laps to go. And now Tim Walsh moves up to the middle groove. Now watch for the 78 of Matt Haas on the inside line, along with Charles Sanford in the 03, John Andrews in the 17. They're all on the lead lap. And we had a spin apparently. Someone spun on the back straightaway, but it didn't bring out a caution. But here we go, 3 wide for the lead. Sanford, Matt Haas, Tim Walsh puts Sanford a P1. And who was the car that spun? Oh, it must have been the 59, I'm guessing. Yes, it must have been Jake Baskinger in the 59, who's now all the way back in 27th, and I believe he is a lap down. As a matter of fact, everybody now up to 13th position is now off the lead lap, as we have a lead lap car showing the way here in the Daytona 500, Charles Sanford. But look behind him, you got John Andrews, who had to race his way into the 500, running second. Blaine Keys running in third. Matt Haas not out of it yet. He's there in the 4th position. Actually, he's battling for 4th with Zachary Fitzwater. You've still got Sean Galligan there as well, still in the mix. Don't count out Keith Batson. Tim Walsh still there as well, but Sanford right now is checked out on the rest of the field. That's not exactly a good thing when you're at Daytona. He could get reeled in very, very quickly by Blaine Keys and Matt Haas, who are both working together right now in a 2-car tandem to reel him in. Jessica Shelton right there in the 02. Right now, she would be the first car lap down in the 13th position. She could maybe get up here and play some defense for her teammate Charles Sanford and try and help him win this thing. Sean Galligan has now fought his way back up into the 3rd position. Now going to the inside for second on Blaine Keys, getting help from the lap car of Leon Alvarez. Alvarez, though, steps out of line. He's going to go to the inside of Sean Galligan. He's trying to hold off the advance of Chris Dollerton as they battle now for the 13th position. Highest place that a driver a lap down can finish is 13th place, and right now it belongs to the 33 of Leon Alvarez. But as all that battling's going on for track position, the leaders are trying to battle for this win. And right now it is Charles Sanford checked out on the field by about 3 car lengths. And look who's up to second, the damaged car of Dallas McIntosh, buckled hood and all. And he's up in 2nd place, getting pushed into that runner-up spot by rookie Matt Haas. So apparently the buckle on the hood not hurting him aerodynamically at all. Dallas McIntosh, look at this. Up to the second position, and look at Tim Walsh forging up the inside line 3 wide. Looks like a couple of drivers who are on the tail end of the lead lap look like they're going to finish in the 11th and 12th position. Michael Norman has seemed to fade from view, as has Benjamin Miles, so they'll probably finish potentially on the lead lap in 11th and 12th respectively. But right now we are watching Charles Sanford leading a pack of hungry wolves. Tim Walsh now into second. Fitzwater now moves into the third position. Then you got the lap car of JT Bryant, and then fourth place now is Keith Batson. We're basically down to 10 drivers who have an opportunity at winning this thing. I think it's 10. Yeah, basically 10 drivers that have a shot at winning this race. Sanford, McIntosh, Walsh, Fitzwater, Matt Haas, Keith Batson, Sean Galligan, Blaine Keys, John Andrews, and Chelsea Bowles are all up in this lead pack with a shot of winning with 5 laps to go in the Great American Race. Zachary Fitzwater now all over the back bumper of Charles Sanford, peeks to the inside, heading into 1. Fitzwater, 2-time winner last season, trying to pick up a Daytona 500 victory in his Dodge Dart out of Fitzwater Australia Racing. Sanford now tucks back in line in second. Batson and Walsh side by side for third, give the spot with the high side down the back straightaway to Walsh. Top 3 have broken away, at least for the moment. They are single file. First, second, third, Fitzwater, Sanford, Walsh. Then you've got lap machines, Trent Dunham and Chris Dollerton. Then fourth place running now is Blaine Keys. Sanford at the line by a splitter is going to get Zachary Fitzwater to lead that lap. And here comes Tim Walsh. He thought about being able to get to the inside of Sanford for the lead, but all he can do is take second from Fitzwater. Now here comes some lap traffic to the inside of Fitzwater. Trent Dunham, Joseph Srigley battling for the 13th position. Jessica Shelton there as well. It looks like Fitzwater's going to clear Trent on the high side down the back straightaway. Now ducks down low on Tim Walsh. That's the battle on for second place again. All going on behind Sanford. Sanford trying to control the draft, trying to pull the outside line along, then switch gears, go to the low side and bring them along. But here comes a nice run for Fitzwater. He'll get to the inside of Sanford. Won't get him at the line, but he'll have the inside advantage heading into 1. And I believe he might clear him going into 1, Zachary Fitzwater. He does indeed. New leader, the 76. Tim Walsh still right there. He'll move by for second place. Sanford back to third. Here comes Sean Gallagher and Keith Batson. We saw these two work together earlier before the cycle of green flag pit stops, and now they're back together again, those two Ford Fusions. Joseph Srigley to the inside of Zachary Fitzwater. This is not for position. Srigley is a lap down, trying to get back on the tail end of the lead lap. He's currently running in the 13th position. Fitzwater's battling for a Daytona 500 win. Here comes Galligan and Batson. They're going side by side with Walsh and Sanford. That's second, third, fourth, fifth, battling all behind Zachary Fitzwater with 2 laps to go in the Great American Race. Srigley still on the inside line. He might help Sean Galligan and Keith Batson move to first and second. It's still side by side. Here's Galligan, now going to pull alongside of Zachary Fitzwater. The battle for the lead, heading out of 2 onto the back straightaway. And I'm hearing some slower cars possibly up ahead they may have to contend with, but who knows? 1.5 laps remaining. Fitzwater still leading. Can he tuck down just in front of Srigley? Yes, he does. He clears him. Fitzwater with the lap car now between himself and the battle for second between Walsh, Sanford, Galligan, and Keith Batson. White flag will be displayed this time for Zachary Fitzwater. Can he hold on for 1 more lap, 4 more corners, 2.5 miles? Galligan to the inside on Sanford and Walsh, 3 wide for the second position. Joseph Srigley, the lap car, the barrier between Zachary Fitzwater and second place Sean Galligan now. If Srigley puts a move on Fitzwater, that could really put Fitzwater in a terrible situation. And here comes Srigley, look into the bottom. Srigley looking to the bottom. Can Galligan get down in front of Emmanuel Hartnett? He clears him. He's going to try and go for the win. This could come out of turn number 4. Side by side, Galligan, Fitzwater. Fitzwater's got Sanford drafting him. This is going to be a drag race. Which Which line's gonna get it? Galligan moves up the side draft, and at the line, Sean Galligan has won the 3rd annual Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500 by 2/100ths of a second. Shades of the Almond Joy Series race we had here yesterday. Another photo finish to cap off an unbelievable race weekend at Daytona. And how about Seth Kohlbaker Motorsports week here at Daytona? Anthony McCurry, a trip to victory lane, the Sprint Unlimited. Kohlbaker starts on the pole for the Great American Race, and Sean Galligan caps off the race weekend with the Daytona 500 victory. It's only Galligan's 2nd career Hersheys Cup Series victory, but it may be his most important, and for the first time in 3 seasons, Galligan may be Hersheys Cup Series chase-bound. Unbelievable race. What an unbelievable finish. Unfortunately, that caution coming out during the cycle of pit stops, it took a lot of contenders out of a chance of winning this race, but an unbelievable finish. Take a look at your full finish results from this race. Sean Galligan with the win, 2/100ths over Zachary Fitzwater, 8/100ths over Charles Sanford. Blaine Keys will finish the day out in 4th. 5th place for the rookie Chelsea Bowles, who had to race her way into this event. Talk about making the most of a debut race. 5th place, top 5 for her. Tim Walsh will get 6th. Keith Batson pushed Galligan up there to the front. He'll get 7th. 8th place will be the rookie Matt Haas. So a great debut race for him as well. John Andrews also had to race his way into this event, and he will finish in 9th. And how about Dallas McIntosh? Buckled hood and all, the Can-Am Dual #1 winner will finish the day out in the 10th position. Look on down through the rest of the cars that finished on the lead lap. Michael Norman will finish 11th in his final Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500 start. Benjamin Miles finishes in 12th. And Joseph Srigley was able to finish ahead of the leaders coming to the line, so he finishes as the last car on the lead lap. Certainly a much better finish than he would have had. He was the first car to encounter trouble during the course of this race as he got spun out of turn 4 back around lap 6. So definitely a great comeback for him. Emmanuel Hartnett will finish the first car a lap down in the 14th position. Trent Dunham will get 15th. 16th place for Jessica Shelton. Then it was Chris Dollerton, Leon Alvarez, JT Bryant, and Zach Flickinger completing your top 20. Rest of the cars that finished at 1 lap down. 21st place, Nathan Hudson. 22nd, John R. 23rd was the defending champion, Chris Dodds. So 23rd place for him. Not the best start to the season, coming off his championship last year, but we'll see what he does in the coming weeks. Ryan George will finish the day out in 24th. Joshua Michaels 25th. 26th for O'Neill Balvin. Jake Baskinger finishes in 27th. Then 2 laps down, finishing in 28th, was Pichu London after the pit road incident between himself and Ryan George. And then the cars that finished out of the race after the big one that took place back on lap 14 included Daniel Voiles, Dylan Potey, Brandon Gonzalez, Kyle Matthews, Joshua Sekuli, Carson Scott, Cody Lamas, James Richardson, Kohlbaker, your front row right there, 36th and 37th for the finishing. Sprint Unlimited winner Anthony McCurry in 38th. Dylan Young and his teammate Levi McIntyre 39th and 40th. And then Kat Tellier and rookie Lyndon Wright, who took that wild ride on the back straightaway, will finish the race in 41st and 42nd. So that's going to do it here from the Daytona 500. Sean Galligan is your Season 3 Hersheys Cup Series Daytona 500 winner. Next week, Almond Joy Series and Hersheys Cup Series will be heading across the pond over to the United Kingdom, as we will be racing our second race of both respective series at Rockingham, UK. So I hope you will tune in for that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe to become part of the crew today. You're currently looking at your point standings heading into next week at Rockingham, UK. And until next time, you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.